Subsurface scattering is the term used to describe the lighting phenomenon, where light scatters as it passes through a translucent or semi-translucent surface. Unreal Engine offers a special shading model, called Subsurface. Subsurface is used specifically for materials that need this interaction like skin or wax. The ability to render realistic-looking human skin is a must for any modern video game engine. To fulfill this need, Unreal Engine now offers a shading method specifically for skin or wax-like surfaces called Subsurface Profile. While the Subsurface Profile shading model has similar properties to the Subsurface shading model, its key difference is in how it renders. The following guide will walk you through all you need to know about how to use subsurface scattering in your materials, and what a subsurface profile is and how you can use them in your work. First, we will see how to enable the subsurface shading model. Enabling a material to use the subsurface shading model can be done a few steps. First, create a new material by right-clicking in the content browser and then selecting material from the Create Basic Asset list. Once created, make sure that you name the material. Next, open up the material by double-clicking on it with the left mouse button. Now with the material open, we need to change the material's shading model from default lit to subsurface. The material is now ready to be used as a subsurface material. Continuing with our material from above that has subsurface scattering enabled, let's set up a basic material so that we can see the subsurface scattering in action in a level. We need to place down some material expression nodes so that we have something to work with. For this example, we are going to be adding 2 vector parameters and 2 scalar parameters. Once the material nodes have been named and filled in with the correct data and connected the material nodes to the main material node, you should have something that looks like this. Now that all the nodes have been connected, make sure that you compile the material by pressing the Apply button. Once compiled, you should have something that looks like this. Now let's check the working with the subsurface material. Now that the subsurface material has been applied, it is time to tweak the settings of the material instance. First is opacity controls. In the current setup of our subsurface material, the opacity input controls the amount of light that we want our object to scatter. A setting of 0 will allow all light to scatter, where a setting of 1 will let no light scatter. 0.5 in the middle image and 1.0 in the image on the right. Notice as the numbers go from 0 to 1, the amount of light we see passing through the object becomes less and less. Next is subsurface color value. While you can adjust the amount of subsurface scattering that happens via the opacity input, you can also adjust this using the value slider in the color picker. For example, setting the opacity to a value of 1.0 and setting the subsurface colors value from white to black will effectively turn off subsurface scattering like in the example below. If you do the opposite of this, adjusting the value slider in the color picker so that it is now in the white, you will re-enable subsurface scattering like in this example. Here is an example of adjusting the value in real time. The amount of subsurface scattering influence is affected. Now here in this example we have eliminated all the light source except for the flames and the statue. And we keep on moving the flame. While the opacity does help to get rid of a lot of the scattered light, you might notice that there is still some subsurface scattering happening. To get completely rid of the effect, you are also going to have to adjust the value of the subsurface color. In the current setup of our subsurface material, the opacity input controls the amount of light that we want our object to scatter. A setting of 0 will allow all light to scatter, where a setting of 1 will let no light scatter. The following example shows the back of the statue with the opacity value set at 0 in the image on the left, 0.5 in the middle image and 1.0 in the image on the right. Notice as the numbers go from 0 to 1, the amount of light we see passing through the object becomes less and less. Hope from this video, you will start to move into building in more advanced mechanics, in an easy-to-follow step-by-step approach. which will allow you to play around and build your own content, to eventually build your own game. Thanks a lot, see you in the next video.